NBA, where the Lakers got some much-needed talent back on the floor over the weekend. LeBron James returned to play after missing the last 7 games with a groin injury alongside Rui Hachimura. However, their return was no match for the Bulls, who put up 146 points in their win against the Lake Show. Despite the loss, the Lakers are getting LeBron James back at the right time. LA is 3 games clear of the Timberwolves for the 7th seed in the West. The top 6 seeds do not have to qualify for the playoffs via the play-in tournament. ESPN Analytics gives the Lakers a 94% chance to be a top 6 seed. Our NBA reporter Dave McMenamin, who covers all things Lakers, and our NBA analyst Carlos Boozer joins us right now. And Dave, I'll start with you. The Lakers finally have LeBron back in the lineup, but what are you hearing about how LA is planning to manage his injury going forward?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the LeBron James that we saw on Saturday night was not the guy that we saw for most of this season, but the Lakers and LeBron recognized there wasn't going to be practice time for him to try to ramp up. So as soon as he felt like his body could give it a go, he's going to use the games in order to get his wind back, get his rhythm back. Now, I asked him if he thinks the groin injury is behind him, and he said really he's just taking it day by day at this point. He hopes it's behind him, but he's unsure and didn't, quite frankly, want to jinx it. And so the Lakers are going to be cognizant about that, but this isn't like a minutes restriction type of thing for LeBron. The guy who is on a minutes restriction is Rui Hachimura, who's going to be in the 20 to 25 minute range right now. He told us that his knee is maybe only 70 to 80%. But again, he recognizes the moment that the team is in, and he needs to try to help them if he can to secure that top 6 seed.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing really with this team is just the fact that they got LeBron back and they got Rui Hachimura back on the court. Obviously, this team healthy is a dangerous team in the Western Conference. I don't think anybody wants to see them if they're completely healthy. And obviously, the biggest thing is showing up their defense. But them getting LeBron back and getting Hachimura back and obviously keeping the rest of those guys healthy is the biggest asset they have going into the playoffs.
Yeah, getting LeBron back is huge for this Lakers team. Keeping him healthy is another story. Dave, 8 of the Lakers' final 12 games are on the road beginning tonight in Orlando. What are you hearing about LA's approach in their final stretch?
Well, certainly, J.J. Redick brought up the fact that their last road trip in the postgame the other night, and he wants them to keep that in their mind. Now, the Lakers obviously have had a successful year, but they're under 500 on the road all season long. Obviously, they had that winless 0-4 road trip, but there were some injuries that involved in that. Obviously, Rui was out. LeBron got hurt in Boston. But it's about focus to detail and also trying to get that defensive edge back. It was a atrocious performance on the defensive end against the Chicago Bulls the other night. Gave up a season-high 146 points, 81 points in the second half. That's inexcusable. Now they have a couple get-back games on this trip. The Magic beat them earlier in the year, and obviously the Bulls just beat them. So both those two teams they can try to get a little bit of revenge against as extra motivation on this trip.
Yeah, we just saw it right there on the screen. The Lakers lost the last 6 of 9. Carlos, what do you want to see beginning tonight as the Lakers make their final push for the playoffs?
Yeah, I agree with Dave. I mean, to get their defensive edge back, they've been a really good defensive team the last 2 or 3 months. That game against Chicago, they gave up 70 points in the paint, so I'm looking to see how they guard Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. Those guys are dominant guys. They get to the paint, especially Paolo does a good job of getting to the free throw line. You want to see the Lakers going into the playoffs playing their best defense in sync. The rotations are on point. They're rebounding the basketball. They're finishing off defensive possessions strong. That way, you know that for Laker fans out there that they're playing their best basketball when their best basketball is needed.
Yeah, defense is something the Lakers definitely need to focus on. 21 turnovers in that loss to the Bulls.
At a 29-point first half, McMahon.
I tell you, he was shooting that rock. And you know what's scary? He is going both ways on his step back and knocking them down. And the both ways, it's something he'd been working on. You hadn't seen much of it. Famously, the game winner he hit over Gobert in the West Finals was going back to his right, but he's doing it fairly often now. Clearly has his legs under him, and you know Luka's put the ball in the hole. Now, this vaunted Lakers defense, we got to chit chat about it. They just gave up 146 to the Bulls.
Yeah, Bontemps. They played 7 games in 10 days. They lost 4 of them. And they have lost position. When LeBron went down, they were in second. Now they're in fourth by 2.5. And the Warriors are missing Steph.
Yeah,
I think the Lakers survived this stretch fine.
Yeah, I agree.
They punted a couple of the games. They almost
had
won
to.
in Denver despite it. Yeah, you had to.
They had 6 and 8. They had 6 and 8, and I think went 3 and 3 in those games.
They did.
And LeBron didn't play in any of them.
They got the Warriors and the Clippers, coming hot on their tail. So, and they start a 4-game road trip. They're going out east for 4 games. It's not the most brutal trip in the history of the NBA, but this is
the trip is Orlando Monday, Indiana Wednesday, at Chicago Thursday, at Memphis Saturday. Just
say Chicago and Indy are 2 of the hottest teams in the East right now. I just want to point that out. But they are in 4th place, and they're right now whole basically. So a key 10 days here for the Lakers, so they actually get a couple of days off, but have to. They have to win. Like they need to get back to where they were. Otherwise, they're going to lose position. And look, if you're in the West, obviously you want to stay out of the play-in, which they're okay with that. But there is which side of the bracket you're on is going to be important, and so it's a little bit hard to completely identify it. But I know if Houston holds on to the 2 seed and you're picking the side of the bracket, you'd rather be on Houston's side of the bracket. I mean, that's just reality, right? I'm not.
Well, it's more not being on Oklahoma City's side of the bracket even than being on Houston's side. And I mean, it's interesting. So Denver, Nikola Jokic, I know McMahon's in Houston. Nikola Jokic is going to miss his 4th straight game with this ankle thing today.
Ooh, careful,
Brandon Clark is now out for the season with a PCL injury.
That was a blow.
The latest
another
injury update.
Saturday night Memphis Grizzlies medical update.
By the way, there has not been an official Memphis Grizzlies medical update release on this, but Ja Morant has missed 4 straight, and the first 3 it was listed as hamstring soreness. For the 4th, that was changed to a hamstring strain.
Yeah, sounds like somebody got an MRI is what that sounds like to me.
By the way, so Denver's lost, going in, this is Sunday morning, obviously, but Denver's lost a couple in a row. Lakers have lost 6 of their last 10. Memphis has lost 3 in a row. And like you said, the Warriors, Clippers, and the Warriors, Clippers, and Wolves have all been pretty hot. And, like you said, all 3 of those teams, they're probably, I shouldn't even say probably, they could be okay avoiding the play-in, but they're only a couple losses ahead of those teams behind them. And that's where we talked about it earlier in the week. Minnesota kicking away those games against bad teams earlier this week. Those are the kind of games where if you're trying to dig out of this hole, you can't kick away games like that.
Well, what it looks like in the West right now is whoever finishes 7th, there's 7 teams that could look like they could do something. Whoever finishes 7th is going to have sort of lost that derby, and that derby is on full scale right now.
Why? Hold on.
There's 8 teams, I would argue.
Yeah, I was going to say because the Clippers.
Unless you're disregarding the Clippers or someone else.
I am not disregarding the Clippers.
No, okay, the Clippers was playing as well as anybody.
No, the Clippers are
in the West right now, really.
And by the way, Houston.
I was wrong.
Houston has a fairly reasonable schedule down the stretch. They've got a lead. I mean, you mentioned that these teams have fallen away. They've got a lead on the 2 seed, and I think right now you have to look at Houston, incredibly, based off where we would have thought they were at the start of the season, as the favorites to finish 2nd in the West, which would be a remarkable accomplishment for the beginning of Phase 3.
There's no bad time for a win streak, but the win streak that they've gone on has come at an incredibly good time because it's come at a time where Jokic had to finally sit down some games, and it came at a time where LeBron was down and the Lakers just took some losses.
Well, and Memphis is struggling.
And I never liked Memphis's chances to get the 2. Maybe you could dispute that, but you're right. But right as Memphis got JJJ back, then Ja went out. They just can't maintain health. So
as of Sunday morning, just so people have a sense of it, per our projections, obviously the Thunder are going to finish first, 67 wins. Rockets will be second with 53. Nuggets will be third. Lakers will be fourth. Grizzlies will be fifth.
You have the win projections there? How many?
Yeah, Nuggets and Lakers both have 50 wins. Nuggets like slightly ahead percentage-wise for third. Grizzlies 5th with 49. Warriors 6th with 48. Clippers 7th, 47.5. Wolves 8th at 47.
Well, and the Nuggets projections, like, tell me how much longer Joker's going to be out. And obviously I'm going to, inquire about that this evening when I see the Nuggets.
I wonder if this is the first time his career he's missed 4 games in a row.
Sounds like a good thing for you to have researched before the podcast.
Well, it is very early on Sunday morning.
Because we had a really important game last night. Thunder Clippers, so it's SGA against Kawhi. This could be a first-round matchup in the playoffs easily, and if so, it's going to be awesome. This is SGA with the Thunder down 1, putting them up 1. He had 26, but on the other side, Kawhi Leonard, Booze, just so strong in the painted area.
So dominant. He's the X factor for this team. If he's making plays like this, hitting shots on the clutch, they're tough to beat.
He had 25 and 10, Clippers by 2. Next Thunder possession, it's Lou Dort, baseline. Who's open? Alex Caruso. Thunder take a 1-point lead. Final seconds, fourth quarter. Clippers down 1. Kawhi not. Bounces off and no good. Thunder hold on to win it. 103-101. They complete the season series sweep. But this is a fascinating game. And Booze, I was looking at your notes coming in this morning, and you are very much a believer in the Clippers. Now they've got Kawhi here. This is the time of year they've been trying to get him to. This is a team you think could do some damage.
Yeah, I think the Clippers are primed right now. Obviously, they have a great coach in Ty Lue. They've kept them healthy. I think Kawhi's their X factor. They got Norman Powell, who's played like an all-star this year. James Harden's been there as a guy. And obviously, Zubac is having the best year of his career. If Kawhi is healthy going into the playoffs, he's an X factor for this team. This team's not going to be scared of Oklahoma City Thunder. It'd be great. This was a great game last night. Imagine if we had 7 of these, Greeny, in the playoffs.
It doesn't have to be the first-round matchup. That OKC is going to be the 1. So the question is, do the Clippers wind up the 7? Do they wind up the 8? Where do they wind up falling in all of this? It's all so tightly jam-packed in the Western Conference. Jay Will, if I had $1 for every time I've heard someone say, if Kawhi Leonard is healthy in the playoffs, then something might happen. We all understand how that would go. Your thoughts on the Clippers right now, Jay Will?
I agree with Booze. I think they're dangerous, and I think Kawhi has a lot of runway right now to be healthy down the stretch. I'll tell you the matchup: Houston. If you're the Clippers, you want Houston. You want to see Houston, and Houston's having one fantastic of a season. And Ime Udoka is doing a really good job, Ime Udoka, but it's understanding that matchup, the youth that Houston has, even though they have Fred VanVleet and company, like that's a matchup that you want with Kawhi, with Ty Lue, with the way they play. Houston in that first round will be the matchup that I think the Clippers will feel like they could win.
Houston right now in the second spot in the West, 1 game ahead of Denver, 2 games ahead of the Lakers. So it is all incredible. Is ready to go. EJ Manuel is suited up and ready to roll. Let's do this. And it starts with the unbelievable finish last night. Putting the madness in March Madness. Colorado State, Maryland. Pick it up. 12 seconds to go in the finish of the year by far. Colorado State down a deuce. Neek Clifford. Cross court for Jalen Lake. So clutch. Maryland fans can't believe it. Colorado State takes the 1-point lead. And so here we go. 3.7 to go. Maryland inbounding. Season on the line. Westwood won the call.
Gillespie looking to throw it in. Gets it up top to Queen. Dribbling left. Big step down the lane. Runner for the win. Banked it in. He banked it in. He banked it in. And Maryland has won. Maryland is going to the Sweet 16.
That is Derek Queen. He had 17 points last night. Obviously, the last 2 were the most important. Heartbreak on one side, elation on the other. Maryland to the Sweet 16.
I asked everybody, I said, who wants the ball? And he said, give me the MF ball. And I said, all right, you're getting it. And I gave him a lot of credit, man. The big dog came up and threw.
Where does that confidence come from?
I mean, so I think I'm from Baltimore, that's why. And then I kind of had it going all game. Me and my teammates had it going. And like I said, like they trusted me to take that last shot.
You want great college basketball insight? You have come to the right place. Carlos Boozer is up. Jay Will is up. And my uncle Seth Greenberg, no relation. I'll start with you, Seth. When your star player says, give me the MF ball, is there any question that you're going to that guy?
There's no question whatsoever. What they did was they got the ball in the middle of the floor with space. And despite being 6'10", he just took it, played downhill, didn't settle, made a tough contested shot. And he said something about being a Baltimore guys. Baltimore guards or Baltimore bigs, they are not afraid of the moment. That's a big-time play and a big-time player playing through contact. Watch his head. Keeps his chin on the rim, eyes on the rim, and finishes. I can't relate to that. Jay will. You've made shots like that. Booz has made shots like that. Hopefully I drew up a couple of plays like that. But that is a big-time play. Get your best player the ball in the middle of the floor and let him go make a play. And I'll tell you, Derek Queen was the king.
I don't know, Booz. That looked like that shot a pro can hit right there off the 1-footer, Booz.
Ooh. Absolutely, that was smooth.
Wait, Jay, take me through. What did you see there in that finish with Maryland finding a way, as they say, to survive and advance?
Well, number one, I think Derek Queen is probably one of the most underrated players in the country that nobody talks about, and he's going to be a lottery pick. Think about that. That's shocking, right? And plays for Maryland. I think my biggest takeaway, Greeny, of everything over the weekend was that NIL is the death of mid-major Cinderella runs. And I think it still can happen, but I think it's going to be more of a rarity, Greeny.
Because?
Well, there's going to be more of a rarity due to the fact that I think now we're going to see a lot of players that are playing for the Colorado States, that are playing for the McNeeses, that are playing for the Drakes, that are going to get poached by mid-level Power 4, Power 5 conferences, right? And you're going to see teams in the middle of the pack of the Big 10, the middle of the pack of the Big 12, see these players and say, hey, we'll give you 4X, we'll give you 5X what you're earning at your mid-major conference. And when I talk to mid-major coaches, the consistent complaint I always hear from them is retention. We can't hold on to players because these Power 4 schools are just clipping them and taking them away from us. And that's why I think you're seeing chalk as much as you're seeing right now as we get to the Sweet 16. You're not seeing any mid-major left. You're going to see the big boys, and I think that's going to be the case moving forward.
Yeah, McNeese can't even keep their manager at this point. He's become too expensive for them. No, if you turn to your sheet of integrity, you will see that the highest number you will see next to any of the teams is a 10. That's Arkansas. Kind of hard to call a team coached by John Calipari a Cinderella. So yes, to your point, let me actually put it up there, Joel. The 16 teams in the Sweet 16 represent just 4 conferences. That's 3 fewer than any other year since this round was introduced in 1975, and as Jay mentions, none of the 4 conferences are mid-majors. You have Duke from the ACC, you got 4 Big 10, 4 Big 12, and 7 from the SEC. So, Carlos, you've been in this, and obviously you were in the bluest of the blue blood programs there at Duke. Some people will say that the beauty of this tournament, the fabric, the texture, the thing that makes it wonderful is the Colorado State kind of team making a run. How do you feel about it as you watch the last of the opportunities for that go out last night?
No, it was great, though. I thought Maryland went to the 2-3 zone. They left a guy wide open. He knocks down the 3 on the corner. I thought it might be over.
Yep.
And then here comes Derek Queen, just a superstar player. Like Jay said, nobody's really talking about him. He'll probably be a lottery pick. Goes to the move, looks like a Jokic move right there, hits it off the glass with confidence. And I think Jay's right. I just think teams think about the kid Martin who went to the Final Four with, I think it was FAU a couple years ago. Now he's on Florida.
Right.
Sion James at Duke now. The bigger schools are going to offer more bread to get these great players at other universities to their university to give them a chance to win a chance.
Seth, this is a good thing or a bad thing?
It's the reality. It's the world we live in. Look, mid-majors have become the G League. Mid-majors have become junior colleges. You go and you play in the G League, you play in a mid-major. What do you want to do? You want to get called up. What's getting called up? Obviously getting paid, but also getting a chance to play at a